Welcome, my dear students. Today, you are going to read the next story of grade 12 new course, A Respectable Woman. This story, Respectable Woman, has been written by Kate Chopin, the American writer. In this story, the writer tries to present the identity of married women and their self-dignity, being a wife. Being a wife of someone, women have some responsibility, dignity, and self-respect. That self-respect is shown here in this story. Kate Chopin also tries to show the identity and desire versus control. Desire versus control of the woman, respectable woman, is shown in this story. This story, Respectable Woman, has major three characters. You can see here the major three characters. Uh, Mrs. Baruda, who is the main character of the story, a respectable woman, Mrs. Baruda, and Gaston Baruda, her husband, and Governor. Governor is the friend of Gaston Baruda. The three characters are there in the story. The story, A Respectable Woman, takes place in the farmhouse of Gaston Baruda. Especially, Gaston Baruda is involved in sugar plantation. He has farm of sugar plantation, and Mrs. Baruda and Gaston Baruda has been living in the farmhouse at the same time. At the same time, Gaston Baruda informs his wife, Mrs. Baruda, that his friend Governor is coming to stay with them for few weeks, for few days. In this way, the story starts. In the beginning of the story, Mrs. Baruda is somewhat disappointed to know that her husband's friend Governor is coming to their farmhouse to stay there for some time. Mr. Governor, who is the friend of Gaston, he is coming to the farmhouse of Gaston Baruda to stay with them for some time. This message is told to the Mrs. Baruda by Gaston Baruda. Then, after listening about the arrival of Governor, Mrs. Baruda starts her own imagination. She starts picturizing the Governor. How is he? Though Mrs. Baruda has listened a lot about the Governor from her husband time and again, she has never met the Governor yet. According to her husband, Governor was good person, he was talented person, like this, she has listened. While she heard the news, her husband told that his friend is coming there. Then after, Mrs. Baruda starts making a kind of picture of Mr. Governor in her mind. She imagines that Mr. Governor might be the quite tall person, slim person, and he would have put on the glasses and he puts on his hand inside the pocket. In this way, she has imagined the governor as tall, slim, cynical with eyeglasses, and puts his hands into his pocket. In this way, she had made a picture of Governor before his arrival. But while the governor arrives, while the governor arrives, then she finds the governor little different than her imagination. Governor was not as tall as she had imagined. He was slim, but he was not as tall as she had imagined. And he was not putting on any eyeglasses as well. He was not putting on any eyeglasses, and he had not put on any his hand. He has not put his hand inside the pants pocket. That's why she was her imagination about Governor was quite different. Then after while she Mrs. Baruda meets the governor for the first time, she likes him. This figure of the governor puzzles Mrs. Baruda. He is lovable and inoffensive, and she starts liking him unknowingly. But later on, while he stays there with them for few weeks, she finds Governor uninteresting. She finds him uninteresting, and he was not trying to attract Mrs. Baruda there. Her husband, Mr. Gaston Baruda, tells her that he will stay for another week there, and asks why she does not wish him to stay. In this question, Mrs. Baruda replies that she says she would prefer Governor to be more demanding, which amuses Gaston. She says that. But Gaston tells Mrs. Baruda that Governor does not expect a commotion over his presence, and that he simply wishes for a break from his busy life, although he declares that she expected him to be more interesting. This is the answer of Gaston to Mrs. Baruda. Her husband Gaston replies that Governor had just come here to stay with us, to be free from his busy life, and he wants to be free from his busy life, and he wants to spend some time here with us. Though he is not looking like interesting person, he says to the Mrs. Baruda. And Mrs. Baruda tells Governor is not looking like the talent person as you told. Husband used to tell that my friend Governor is very talented person in the beginning days, but he did not show. But now, though Mrs. Baruda likes the Governor, his activities were not so interesting. That's why Mrs. Baruda started disliking him. She did not like the Governor. As the Governor has made a plan to stay one more week with them, then she makes a plan to go away in the city to stay a few days with her aunt. She tells her husband that I'm going to my aunt in the city for a few days. When the Governor goes from here, then inform me, then I'll come back to home. In this way, Mrs. Baruda shows her disinterest towards the Governor. and she made plan to go to the city, and just on the eve of the going to the city, it was the night time. Mrs. Varudha goes out of the home. She stays in a bench, going a little away in the garden through the gravel road, and she was sitting in the dark night alone there, looking at this. Mr. Governor goes there near to her. He sits at the side of the Mrs. Baroda, and he gives the scarf to her in behalf of her husband. He tells that this scarf was sent by your husband to you. Then Mrs. Baroda accepts the scarf, she takes it, and she just looks at the governor. She feels as if she wants to touch the governor. She wants to be close to him. She wants to put her fingers on the face of the governor and on the cheeks of the governor, and slowly she wants to touch the lips of the governor. Just she imagines, but she doesn't do so because she is married woman. She is a respectable woman. Being a respectable woman, she is not able to touch the governor even. And she thinks that it is my responsibility to be loyal towards the husband. She thinks so. And she just stands up from there as the governor is sitting on the bench. She goes to the home directly, and goes to her she goes to her husband's. And Governor was just there sitting on the bench, and he was lighting the cigarette. He was smoking cigarette at that time. The light of the smoke was spreading there. Cigarette was spreading there, sparkling, and she goes there. And next morning, before the governor and Gaston wake up, Mrs. Baruda had already gone to the and so. And then after governor stays there a few days and he returns back. As the governor returns back, then Mrs. Baruda comes back to her home. They stay happily there in the farmhouse. And after few months, again one day, Gaston tells that again my friend governor is coming here in the next summer to stay with us for some time. At this time, Gaston had expected that Mrs. Baroda would tell that she would not be happy if the governor is coming there. But this time, Gaston becomes surprised with the behavior of the Mrs. Baroda. She, while she listens this, she becomes delighted. She has already changed her mind. She wants to make her husband delighted. She goes near to her husband, tells her that governor did not deserve her dislike. She kisses her husband and tells him that she has overcome everything. She has overcome everything. It means she has won everything. Now she has won everything in her life, and she would treat the governor more nicely than the previous. In this way, Mrs. Baruda made her husband surprised. She has overcome all the problems. She has overcome everything, and she is ready to accept the governor, though she found him uninteresting in the last stage with them. This time, Mr. Gaston becomes surprised seeing the changing behavior of Mrs. Baruda. This is the story. In this story, the writer has tried to show the respectable woman's behavior. Mrs. Baruda, being respectable person, she has to overcome everything and she has to present herself as the respectable person in the society. She has to follow the social norms, values, rules, and regulations, being a married woman. Though she is interested to touch the Mr. Governor, she doesn't do so because her social norms and values stops her from doing so. This is the story. This story so is about the interest versus responsibility. We can say so. My dear students, you can copy this summary and you can make a screenshot or you can pause the video, you can copy it and read well, and you can make a note so that it becomes easier for you to understand the story well. My dear students, I hope you understood the story of Respectable Woman. This story is very interesting story about the respectable woman, Mrs. Baruda. Most part of the story moves with the events of Mrs. Baruda. Here is analysis part as well. If you like to read the analysis and make your study more effective, you can copy this analysis part as well and you read. It really helps you to make your study more effective. For your screenshot, I'm showing this analysis part. You can screenshot it or you can copy it and read it. Dear students, if you are students of grade 12 and you are watching this video, I request you all to subscribe the channel and write in comment if you have any problem regarding your English courses. This much for today. Thank you everyone. I will continue the video of other different chapters of grade 12 in the same channel. Thank you everyone. Have a nice time.